So today, we're going to talk about a vitamin that's so fundamental to your existence. Its whole mission is baked right into its name. But chances are you've probably barely given it a second thought. Let's dig into pantothenic acid, which you might know as vitamin B5.
All right, let me ask you something. What's the one vitamin that you absolutely need, but that's also kind of hiding in plain sight? Because it's in almost everything you eat. We're talking meat, mushrooms, avocados, grains. Any ideas? Well, the answer is pretty cool. It's pantothenic acid. And get this, the clue is right in the name. It comes from the Greek word pantothen, which literally means from everywhere. And that one little fact, it is the key to understanding everything about this vitamin.
Because it's found everywhere, vitamin B5 is a true unsung hero. You know, it's like this tireless factory worker inside our cells, just chugging along 24/7. But it never gets the same fame as, say, vitamin C or D.
So, if it's in all our food, what exactly is its job? Well, it does a lot, but it really has one single, absolutely critical mission that our survival completely depends on.
And that mission is to build a tool. Think of it like a master key for our body's entire energy system. Now, vitamin B5 isn't the key itself, but without it, our body just can't make the key that unlocks all the energy from the food we eat.
And that master key is a molecule called coenzyme A. You can imagine this whole thing like a tiny assembly line. Our body takes the raw material, that's the pantothenic acid, and in 5 super precise steps, it adds a piece here, snips off a piece there, and bolts on a final part to create the finished tool, the all-powerful coenzyme A.
So why does this master key matter so much? Well, it's basically the central hub for our entire metabolism. It's the thing that lets us turn carbs, fats, and proteins into fuel. It also works like a tiny delivery truck, moving little carbon building blocks around the cell. Without coenzyme A, our whole metabolic engine would just grind to a halt.
Okay, so we know it's absolutely essential. The next obvious question is, where do we get it? And, just like its name suggests, you really don't have to look very far at all.
I mean, look at this list. It's a nutritional rock star. You've got it in animal foods like meat and eggs, but also in plant powerhouses like mushrooms, avocados, and potatoes. That from everywhere name is no joke. Seriously, if you're eating a halfway decent diet, you're pretty much guaranteed to be getting all the B5 you need.
But here's an interesting little detail, especially when we talk about grains. The B5 isn't spread out evenly. It's actually concentrated right in the outer layers.
Which means when we take whole grains and mill them to make white flour, we're literally stripping away a huge chunk of this vital nutrient. It's kind of the perfect example of how modern food processing can sometimes work against what our bodies need.
Okay, a really quick but important point here. If you're ever looking at supplements, you might see something called pantothene. It looks similar, but it's a different form of B5. And while some research suggests it might affect cholesterol, it is absolutely not the same thing as the pantothenic acid you get from your food. So, just something to keep in mind.
So what happens if you don't get enough? Well, you can probably guess where this is going. Since it's found pretty much everywhere, not getting enough of it is, you guessed it, an extremely rare problem.
And just to give you an idea of how easy it is to get enough, health authorities have set what's called an adequate intake. For most adults, it's just 5 milligrams a day. That's it. It goes up a tiny bit for pregnancy and lactation, but for almost everyone, 5 milligrams is the goal, and a normal diet usually covers that no problem. And this next part leads to probably the most telling fact about vitamin B5. How many countries in the world require foods like flour to be fortified with it? The answer is 0, not a single one. That's how confident health officials are that we're all getting enough just by eating food. In fact, when you look at the research, true deficiency has really only been seen in the most extreme situations imaginable. We're talking about victims of starvation or prisoners of war during World War II. It's only when your diet is severely restricted for a long time that you start seeing symptoms. So, for our last section, let's just take a quick trip back in time and look at the history of this everywhere vitamin. It's a really cool story that starts with simple yeast and ends with a Nobel Prize.
So the story kicks off back in 1933. A biochemist, Roger J. Williams, notices there's this mysterious substance that yeast absolutely needed to grow. Since he kept finding it everywhere, he called it pantothenic acid. By 1940, he'd figured out its chemical structure. But the real aha moment came in 1953 when another scientist, Fritz Lippmann, won a Nobel Prize for discovering coenzyme A and showing how it was the master key for our metabolism. That discovery finally connected all the dots, linking B5 to its ultimate crucial purpose in our body.
So there you have it. Vitamin B5, the ultimate background player. That's not flashy, but it's absolutely fundamental. It's a great reminder that not all heroes wear capes, right? Which kind of leaves us with one last thought. What other unsung heroes are working inside of you right now, just quietly keeping the whole show running?